Hello, slots enthusiasts. How are you? My name is John Friedel. Welcome to Professor Slots, a channel that helps you master casino slots so you can win your way to success. Sorry for the laughter. There's like a 20-second delay between my starting to speak and things starting to happen from my point of view on YouTube. And I'm like, yep, just going to send it out there in the hopes of everything being set up. It's great to see you all here again for another Professor Slots podcast episode and live stream. If you're with us live, be sure to say hello and ask your slots related questions. I'll get to those in a little later in the show. And that's some extraneous noises we don't need. Right. So, special announcement. I'm dedicating today's show to my father's wife, Barb, who passed away unexpectedly this last week. So she was an avid slots player as well as a big fan of the show. And here's a picture of her, if I can do this properly. Yeah, here's a picture of her with my father and myself at a casino in Florida, and I wanted to dedicate today's show to her, because she played slots and was a fan, right. So they spent half the year in Florida. I don't want to get into too many details, but they enjoyed a casino there, and they knew that I was doing Professor Slots. So, of course, my father's more of a bingo player; he enjoys that more. But they wanted me to come and assess their casino and show them how to win. So I wrote this article for them, and there's. The article itself, this was Brighton Indian Reservation south of Orlando in Florida. That's a picture from the parking lot of the casino. And that's, kind of what goes into it. And we found a way that, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we found a winning strategy. So, she was also friends with family friends with, and that trip was including Dave and Lois as well, also fans of the show, and at their favorite tribal casino in Florida. Right. Oh, hey, we got a. We have a super chat from Chuck. Thank you so much, Chuck, for that super chat. As I've gone, yes, thank you for the condolences and sympathies. Right. So, thank you. Chuck has used the new feature that came with getting 1,000 subscribers. I'm now over 1,500. It's only been a couple of weeks and three. And so with this came an extra button at the bottom of the live chat if you're here with us live. And I think it's possible to do it other times as well. To offer a super chat or a super sticker. And it looks like Chuck offered a super chat, $20.02, which was wonderful of him. This is effectively a donation, and anybody who gets a donation gets recognized during the show. Bigger the donation, the longer it sort of stays on the live chat there at the top and gets displayed. So I will also show that in the video so you can see it later and what that looks like. So wonderful. Thank you. I gotta find a way to integrate this. Give the professor a spin is what we're trying here. What the way I say this. If you make a bet at the casino, how much does that bet cost? Donate one bet to supporting my cause and helping me to keep going and keep providing these live streams and my all the things that I'm working on with from the website to the podcast. Some of you are listening on, so you can go to YouTube, youtube.com/Professor Slots and donate, or go to my website. There is, I'll show it on the screen. Just so you know how, one of the things I haven't done enough of is, so here on the side of most of my articles is a place to give the professor a spin. That'll take you to PayPal, where you can donate something. Oh, Joyce, thank you. Thank you, Joyce. Let me, too many things going on here. I got buttons to press. Thank you, Joyce, for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, and appreciate the donation. Right, let's get into the show. Lots to go over. At the end of an amazing 9 months in which I won 90 taxable jackpots, I won a car at a casino giveaway where I was playing high-limit slots. I had thoughts of starting a business explaining how to win at slots before this happened, but once I won it, I knew that I had to start a business. So this personal story is based on my notes and memories and written down for my book, Learning to Win, shortly afterward. And I also put out a newsletter this morning talking about today's topic, and I got a reply already from people who have themselves won a car. So, and that's, it's great if you have. Certainly speak up in the live chat, or send me an email at john@professorslots.com if you're watching this later, or you want to comment in this video, or if you want comment in this video, or if you're watching the podcast later, feel free to email me. Did you win a car? What was that like? Did you take the cash option? So we'll go over what happened with me so you understand. It can be a stressful situation, so it's good to think about these things beforehand, because I myself did not have a lot of brain power left once things started happening, and I'll explain that. So I want to go through this so you understand what I've done, what might happen with you, and how to prepare for these things. So while I was at a local casino, I'd noticed a few posters on the big finale of a casino promotion I'd only been vaguely aware of. It was a multi-month promotion with several end-of-month giveaways, increasing in size, such as cruises and other trips, including a car giveaway as a finale at the end of the promotion. But being new to promotions at that time, I barely noticed a mail flyer, Players Club emails, and other mentions of this 3-month promotion. Hey, Jane Walk, thank you so much for your $5 donation. I do appreciate that. And if that noise gets to be annoying, do let me know. I've got like 5 others I could use, but I thought that was the best one. Right. So my first assessment of this promotion was somewhat less than favorable. While cruises or trips to Las Vegas can indeed be wonderful, I'd recently returned from another casino's complimentary gifts of a 7-day cruise to Alaska, which is fantastic, and a 4-night stay in Las Vegas over the 4th of July weekend, which was fantastic, as typical annual rewards to a player with top-tier status at, this was Caesars Rewards at the time, and I was a 7-star status, if you know about that sort of thing. So, I wasn't overly thrilled with potentially winning another such trip or cruise. But to be more precise, I wasn't particularly interested in more trips, which this promotion seemed to be offering. But I became slightly interested when I learned the grand finale was the drawing for the luxury car I'd noticed on display in the main entryway of the casino. Yes, I began to realize that was very interesting indeed. I'd been puzzling over the Mercedes Benz located in this casino's entryway for some time. I I remember seeing another such car there a few months before, and that eventually went away. I wasn't really tracking promotions at this casino. I was, really assessing the casino, still assessing the casino at that time, and hadn't yet played there for that previous win. And uh, uh, that previous card giveaway. But by the time the second one came, after the 3 months of promoting it, I had assessed it. I had figured out how to win, and I was winning. Certainly, spending a lot of money there in the high limit room. So, you know, I. uh, I saw the second car and I wondered what event it went along with. Over several visits to the casino for mostly other reasons, I eventually learned more about the event. It was to be the grand finale drawing at the end of the 3 month long promotion for trips that I'd been hearing about, formerly assessed as not something I was interested in, then subsequently ignored. The luxury car on display was certainly a very fine automobile, but as it happens, not at all the vehicle I personally prefer. Um, I'm not a Mercedes Benz kind of guy. I'm a Jeep Wrangler kind of guy. As a result, I had no idea how much it was worth. I took a photo of it one day so I could study its features. Um, and let's see if I can bring that up. Things need to get a little faster here. Right. So, this was the car. Uh, Mercedes-Benz E350, and I had an idea of, what features it had. I kinda looked it over. Did it have a sunroof? I kinda peered in the window. It's a coupe, Mercedes-Benz E350 coupe, and fully loaded as far as I could tell. And so it was a simple matter to, decide to go online, pick the same model car and get an idea of the features. If it was fully loaded, what does that even mean? In terms of this car model and what might it typically offer. So I went online and went to the manufacturer's website and built it, as they say. I'm sure you know about that feature. I built a late model version of that brand and model car along with the vehicle features I could identify in the photo I'd taken. Doing so provided the purchase price. I think it was $65,000, and it's a Mercedes. At which I felt was a good start on what I needed to know for it. If I won the car, hypothetically speaking, of course, wouldn't I want to know how much I might receive for this used car? As most people know, new cars depreciate, and no better than I. Most cars depreciate a tremendous amount as soon as they're driven off the dealer's lot. So this was not on the dealer's lot, right? So I had to assume it was basically a used car owned by the casino, not by the dealer any longer. And I'm making guesses here, and I could assume it had 10 miles or fewer on the mileage. So I went online again, and I um, thank you, Chip. Chip is offering help help heartfelt condolences to um, this. So, um, if you're asking me, should, uh, Chip wants to know that it says he bets from a low of $2 to a maximum of $25. Should he donate $2 or $25 under give the professor a spin? How about one weekend? One weekend in the live show you do one, and the other weekend you do another. That'll average out to something in between. I'm not going to tell you how much to donate. Whatever you feel. What's the proper? Way to do tips. Whatever value you think that I'm providing to you, Chip, I think that it might be the high end. Right. So, uh, lots of, not lots of, Lots of balls in the air here. Right. So, in a strictly just in case scenario, I went online and I I have the purchase price that I might have for a a car of that type used 10 miles or so on it, fully loaded that year, that brand. And I went and looked it up, right? Kelly Blue Book is a good place for that. So I had that information. And so over time, the 3 month long promotion for trips, cruises, and finally a luxury car began to approach its end. Its last day was August 31st, the day of the car giveaway. And I happened to be in the casino the night before, a Friday, when the casino had seemed pretty lively. There were lots of people there, including the host, including the boss of all the hosts. I had been getting to know. I've been getting to know the host, but I hadn't met their boss yet, the executive at the casino. So I was, I shook her hand, and she said she'd been hearing about me and was happy to finally meet me. So that was a nice little meet and greet. One of the hosts that I was getting to know during my visits, Amanda, who had taken that opportunity to introduce me to her boss, also asked if I'd be visiting the next day to participate in the car giveaway. With no real interest at that time, I said maybe I'd stop by. Looking back, that was when I really started thinking about changing my assessment of the promotion. Again, all this is sort of to help you if you had this opportunity. If you, I mean, you know about see car giveaways and these kinds of promotions, but how do you assess it? How do you decide? And this is what I went through for these particular rules. So, why would I change my assessment? Because Amanda mentioned something. She said that the number of entries for each player was based on their slots play for the last few months. Now, also there would be multiple opportunities to win with two drawings each half hour over a 5 hour stretch. So finally, the only players that call that would be those that had plugged their player's club card into a slot machine within the previous half hour. With those being the drawing rules that I knew about from Amanda, I had a few thoughts. First, I'd spent and won, but the important thing is I spent a lot of money at that casino in the last few months. I began to realize that I seriously needed to reevaluate my assessment of this promotion. However, I had one question and one concern. The question was, given the significant amount of high limit slots I've been playing at that casino for the last 2 months, exactly how many entries did I have in the car giveaway, in the promotion for winning the car? And my concern was, would it be more trouble than it was worth to own another car, especially one that didn't particularly appeal to me? So, these are the questions beforehand. I went to the casino the next afternoon and to ask my questions and discuss resolving my concern about the casino hosts. All three hosts that I'd gotten to know there happened to be in their office, which was another clue it was going to be a big day. Once I explained my question and concern, they told me that sliding my club card into kiosk would provide the number of entries that I'd have in the drawing. Plus, plus that instead of accepting the car, there was a cash option available. I'd heard about cash options. I didn't really go to promotions, and this is after my 10-year break of slots where I thought about all the strange things that had happened to me over a week at Prairie Meadows in Iowa while I was in graduate school, and how it made me reassess how I thought slot machines work. I thought they were just entirely random, and what had happened was not entirely random, not even close to entirely random. So I began to, process the things that would eventually turn me into Professor Slots. But I was back. The car giveaways have been around for a long time. Also, I'd heard about a guy named Bob Dancer. Early days, when I was trying to have a business, I was like, I wonder how this would even go. And one of the people who has been doing it for a long time, but for video poker, is Bob Dancer. He has some software that helps you practice. So you learn the rules of every game. I mean, video poker is not video poker is not video poker. There's bonus, there's jacks are better, and they all have slightly different rules. And you need to play perfectly to have the best odds and no mistakes. But he wrote a book on a lot of this in his experiences. I thought that was a fine idea. But one of the things that he did was he won a car. And I thought, a sign of being successful to have a business like this is to win a car. But I had not yet won a car. I'd won, you know, at that point, 90 taxable jackpots in 9 months, the largest being 27,000. And as you know, taxable meaning $1,200 or more, and lots of smaller stuff. But everything was notes and tracking all this and all that. And so, I'm sitting here going, so there's a cash option. Okay, I thought I knew that maybe, and but I didn't know what they had told me which was that most people, 99% of the people who win a car, take the cash, and we'll talk about why. But I have to admit, I admire the professionalism of casino hosts, and especially of those particular casino hosts. I noticed that hardly any question phases them. They usually come right back with an answer for even the most ridiculous questions, like mine can be at times, as I explained. So they either knew the answer outright, or they know just how to quickly look it up. Armed with my prior research on the sellable value of the car, which Kelley Blue Book came back with approximately $36,000, by the way. The casino was offering a $40,000 cash option. All right. Good to know, right? Now, and how many entries did I have? I had 174 entries, which seemed like a lot to me, honestly. I was like, that's most people might have one. If they had an entry, you had to spend $100 to get one entry. And here I cycled my bankrolls and enough that I had in 3 months had cycled $17,400 by the time of the giveaway. So I had 174 entries. And with that in mind, I left the casino for a while to think over the situation. But it wasn't long before I turned my $500 car around and went back to the casino well before the first drawing for the luxury vehicle. Since I was very early for the start of the promotion, I brought a book to the high tier players lounge to wait for the first drawing at 5 p.m. Around 4:35 p.m. or so, I went out and plugged my rewards card into one of the main floor slot machines as required to be able to have my name drawn. At the 5 p.m. drawing, I realized that I couldn't hear announcements in the lounge over its low volume intercom system. When I went out to the main floor, I saw the names of the two people that had already been drawn. With a bit of wandering around, I eventually found the location of the drawing itself, just as they were wrapping up the paperwork for whatever cash those two people had won. Each had won a small amount of cash, but not the car itself. I also saw that, unbeknownst to me, despite my attempt at research, and there's always going to be something you didn't consider or they're doing that you didn't know they were going to be doing, there was a secondary drawing after the initial names were announced. No one had won the car, just cash prizes between $500 and $1,500. On the way back to the lounge for more book reading, I made sure to plug my rewards card into another slot machine so that I was eligible for the next drawing at 5:30 p.m. Thinking about the situation in the high tier lounge while making little progress reading my book, around 5:25 p.m. or so, 5 minutes before the next drawing, I decided that I needed to head over to the site of the card giveaway location before the actual drawing of names. What was happening? What might I learn by watching the actual process? So yes, I did. I wanted to learn the whole process from start to finish. I had the thought that if two names are drawn, then whichever the two individuals showed up first might automatically proceed with a secondary drawing. I mean, they like to keep things moving at casinos. So I thought, I'd rather be the first one there. I wasn't sure that was how it worked, but the order of who showed up that first might be important. I thought I might end up being like terribly disappointed with myself if I ended up being called, but arrived after the other person arrived ahead of me, and who might then win the car. So this is an attitude, okay? This is not a pleasant scenario to imagine. There's only Hey, Jan. Thank you, Jan, for the and that's our first super sticker from Jan for $10. And as soon as it shows up in my window here, I will display it for you all to see. Uh, and, and she says, number one fan. I think, uh, yeah, was it 2 weeks ago when we first got this feature to live streams? I think she was the first one, number one fan. There she is. Uh, uh, Thank you, Jan. Texas Tootsie, uh, also known as Jan. Um, so, uh, so it wasn't a pleasant scenario to think I might lose out to somebody who was drawn with me, but before me in that sequence. Um, uh, and you can't quite see how cute the sticker is from Jan on what I'm displaying on the video. But if you're here live, it's a little what do they call it? GIF that's animated, and it's nice. It says number one fan. But so you know what I'm trying to talk about here is advantage plays, right? I'm talking about an attitude. I'm trying to talk about how advantage players have a certain perspective on winning. It's not quite true that they expect to win, but rather that they are carefully considering scenarios where they take the best possible actions that can lead to a win. I didn't think I was going to win a car. If anything, I had my usual high hopes and low expectations, but just in case, I carefully looked over the situation and took precautions which might reasonably improve my odds of winning. And, that is what advantage players do. They try to find the advantage. Everything from looking up the price of the vehicle online beforehand. So if I find out eventually the cash option, I know whether or not to make a choice. You have to make decisions. It really does help to make decisions. And I'll explain what I went through when suddenly, I had to make a lot of decisions, but I pre-thought whatever I could imagine, so I could make good choices then, and everything from value of the car to, how do you buy a lot of used cars? I have spent half my adult life living in college towns, taking the bus, and not having a car. So yes, I've had used cars, but I've never been someone who has had a lot of experience at, going out and evaluating used cars. There's a skill to that. I have friends who are good at that, where they're like, well, I get the most amount of money because they have friends who might live on a state road where they can, for a small fee, they might allow them to, park it in an advantageous location where people come and go from work. I have neighbors like that now, and it's everything just goes quickly that way. And there's a whole skill thing to it. I don't have that. So, if it was worth more than the cash option, then maybe I would need to learn how to sell a used car, and figure out how that might work. I could do that now here fairly well with the state road thing and all that, but back then I was living in an apartment and I was just like, what do I take an ad out in the newspaper? It was all very different. So pre-think what's going on. Let's check in with a live chat to briefly say hello. That the animation is still awesome. I wish I could show people on the video. Right. So I saw lots of comments go by. We'll see if I can get this done in a few minutes, but I want to make sure I say hello to everybody. And I'm so glad that everyone showed up. Right. So Chip had said, I'm not sure if this was something I recorded or if it was part of the 15-minute pre-show where I was just, on the live chat with everybody. But he says that car or truck giveaway is great, not only for the drawing at a casino, but outstanding. He says advertising for the auto manufacturer and the dealership, and so I have to agree with that. Uh, One of the things that I have noticed lately in these car giveaways, they continue, is I'm in Ohio, and I think that there was a little bit less interest, like at Miami Valley Gaming, which is fairly nearby, and has good return odds, good return statistics for the state, usually first or second. Um, and right, Mercedes weren't really what people were wanting. So now they do Ram trucks. They'll do a decent truck. It and on the other, it also gets kind of like expensive lately. So it turns out maybe that's much less of a cost than a Mercedes. The taxes are less, but also the cash option is less. I've seen it, drop down to like $24,000 cash option, almost like they want you to take the car. Instead of being more than the used car would be worth, it would be maybe less. And so you can see some of the stuff that's happening, that casinos trying to push it. 99% of the people take the cash, but if you keep on dropping the cash option, at some point people are going to go, I got to get the car. On the other hand, you don't have, and we'll talk about this, you don't have the cash from the cash option to pay the taxes later. If you get the car, and we'll get into that. That's one of the big things about getting a car. Thank you for the sympathies, Paula. And Michael's here. Hi, Michael. He's in Denver and Black Hawk, Colorado. I have a niece here, but I don't know which one because I don't recognize the title. So if they're serious, hello, niece. I have no nephews, so that must be a niece. Hello. Sabrina is here. She says, I'm glad I found you. Love your content. Hello from Brooklyn, New York City. I'm glad you found me too. It's getting a little easier. I'm getting very popular in the last month. I've been at this for, let's see, a week from today will be the 31st, Halloween, and that will be my 4-year anniversary of starting this business. And everything changed about a month ago. So I'm hugely expanded ever since I started YouTube. Makes me think I should have probably started YouTube first instead of last. I'm glad you found me. I've been working hard for you to be able to find me, and I'm glad that you love my content. Hello. Catherine is here. Hi, Catherine. She's in Portland, Oregon. Thank you for you saying, for the appreciate your comment about the family sorrow. Paula is asking about the car. Was that a hatchback or a trunk? It was a trunk. I'm a big fan of hatchbacks, but it was a trunk. Now, often these vehicles will have like a back seat that can kind of fold down or something, and you can get through, but it's not the same thing as a hatchback where you can pretty much put a futon in, foldable. Let's see. Yeah, that's not a Jeep. I didn't dig out my. Let me see if I can pull this up for you here. Another photo. Sure. Let's see. There's this one, which is there for you. See if I can make that a little larger. And I have another photo here for you, which is kind of a bigger view of the car. This is the car. I'll really should show you these in a moment when I talk about the actual experience. This was I just won that car a few minutes before, so That's what it looked like. And but getting back to the comments, thank you, Chip, for the heartfelt condolences. For those of you that are here now, but weren't earlier at the beginning of the show, this show is dedicated to my father's wife, who passed away a few days ago. And she was a big slots player and also a fan of the show. And yeah, so that happened. Uh, okay. Um, let's see. Chip. Uh, okay. Um, uh, yes, I'm a terrible salesperson. Jan came back with an answer for Chip. He was like, "Should I give you $2 or should I give you $5 under, give the professor a spin?" And some of you have been saying, just give him $25. So maybe I should, thank you for convincing that of Chip. Now, how does this feature work? I haven't used it before. I tried it out on a show. I mean, I can't with this show. I go to another show on Monday, and I'm not quite sure where the money comes from. So I'll have to, what the connection is to my YouTube account. I actually have to try it myself because I want to be able to explain it to you. Um, uh, yeah. Chip says, talking to Jan, I remember a time when I was very hesitant to bet a quarter. And I remember how difficult it was to put $500 into a slot machine, even though I was on a winning slot machine and I was winning, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, and every 4 hours I was getting a hand pay, and I got 13 in 6 days. But I always had problem putting the $500 in, and I think that's just fine. If it was easy, that's not safe. You want to have a problem betting, no matter what happens. I think that's just a good thing. Nias here, welcome. And yep, good. I'm glad you're here. Discussions about reading. Let's see. Jan says that the super sticker jumping around in the live chat is distracting her. Well, now you know what I'm going through whenever I chat and talk to you guys, and I see something out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Right. Oh, Magpie had an idea about your theory of playing a winning machine a week later around the same time. Last week on Sunday, I spent the day walking the casino, taking pics of people that won hand pay jackpots. Oh yeah, absolutely. I put this into the rewards. People are like, well, if you already won a taxable jackpot, and Chip was helpful in pointing out to me that some states don't put, there's a place for the time and date of the jackpot, and some it's not, it's optional, so some states don't fill it out, but there's often also a receipt that you get, and maybe they mail you the W-2G later. It really depends on the casino, and the receipt might have it. But I wanted to, mostly I talk about, so you've got a huge collection, maybe if you're high limit and you have a collection, well, go through them. But the other thing is, maybe you've never had a hand pay before. How do you find a time when there was a hand pay? Well, sure, it could be you get your first hand pay, and then you could start coming in 1 week later. For everybody who hasn't seen this, it's a strategy 7. I have a video on it. What is it? Win, walk away, return later. But 1 week later, 5 minutes earlier, play through the same time in the same slot machine. And one of the things that I put in there, it's kind of buried, but it's in there, is it doesn't have to be your win. It could be somebody else's. Right? So you spot somebody getting a hand pay, make a note what slot machine that is, go back a week later. And that's what Magpie is talking about. So yeah. That's my thoughts, Magpie. Good luck. Let us know how it goes. So Mark is here. Hi, Mark. You made a video suggesting that the casinos adjust the odds to adjust their books. Does this really happen? I don't work for a casino, but it's obvious as an outsider that I won my $27,000 jackpot at 4:30 in the morning after a busy Friday. And I'm like, and the person behind me won one. It just doesn't happen. It just jumped out at me. I was there that morning to test the idea, and then it did happen. I know, you should do stuff like that like 30 times and to win, but it has also been talking to other people, and it is their go-to method. It might be the primary winning slot strategy out there, but so that is it had to be mentioned. It had to be mentioned, and it seems to be fairly common. Now, it looks like strategy one, only win immediately, is like 1 in 3 casinos. I haven't got a good feel yet for exactly how many, 1 out of 10 casinos might do the early morning thing, but it is from people commenting and talking and sending me emails. It seems to be what people do to win the most, to win the winning strategy that's out there. People talk about winning strategies, winning slot strategies, and they never say what they're doing. I think it's the mystique. I think it's the, they're trying to get people to say, "Oh, you do," and "Oh, I'm not going to share because that's not what we do." Well, I share, and that seems to be the one. I'm not asking you to spend money gambling. I'm saying switch your time when you go. See if it works for you. See if it works at your casino, right? Again, it's not making you more lucky. It's helping you improve your odds based on what the casino has done. So yeah, that really does happen. It happened to me. Oh, I forget which one it was on the 27,000. So a 27,000, and then I had to pay state taxes, and it was the one in the city. So I had to pay city taxes as well, which was 6%. So it was maybe this one. This is a $10,000 band, $100 bills. And let's just say it was these two. I've got, 5 total, and I'll complain in a moment about winning the car and taking the cash and not being able to get the cash, had to take part of it in a check. So I have 5 of these. I could have had 7, but I have 5 and I collect them. So yeah, that came from a $27,000 jackpot where I was there at 4:30 in the morning after a big night. And so happened to me. Right. Is it advisable? So we got some questions here. This is good. Is it advisable to make quick spins or stop the slot machines? Doesn't matter either way. There's no connection. I've never found a correlation between stopping it and going. Just understand that the bet was made when the decision was made by the machine when you press the bet button, even all of the spins, unless you're on a skill-based game. Okay. Even top dollar, whatever one you chose, it was all calculated. So on class 2 skill-based games at tribal casinos, you are a part of the decision. But on class 3 Vegas style slot machines, you are not. You press the button and you find out. Right. Lots of new people here. That's wonderful. T. McMahon. I really should bring this up here. There. Hello from North Carolina. Love your content. Pass your channel on to my coworkers. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Yeah. Some people are impressed by the PhD. Everybody I know has one. So I do math in my head. Everybody I know does math in their head. So there's some comments going on. Mark Smith. I guess my question is, how do you make a jackpot win on a random number generator? Could you switch the chip, but that doesn't force a page? You could switch the chip, but that doesn't force a paid jackpot. That's a long question, Mark, or a long answer. Yes, there is a random number generator, but do you know what a random number generator is? is, I mean, it is not a simple concept. It's a distribution of possible values. It's called a frequency distribution. And the requirement from states which have a requirement for theoretical payouts isn't to have it like Ohio, 85%. It is not 85%. It's the lowest amount, 85% or higher. In Pennsylvania nearby, it's 85% to 100%. This is the range. So the random number generator can respond, it's more to it than just saying it's random. It is part of the function. For instance, it's used twice. All right. First, how much you won. Excuse me. First, if you won. And then it's run a second time right there, that instant you make the bet, and how much you won. So it's used a couple of times. It's just more involved, and there's some leeway in there. It is adjustable. The distribution is adjustable while still meeting state law. So it's just not random. It's mostly random, not fully random. Now, if you're playing online slots, it's fully random. But the casino has, promotional dollars that they put on slot machines on the end of the row near the bar sometimes, and that's what they have to work with. There are some state laws that are a little bit more restrictive and a little more shut down, like, for instance, that 85% lower limit. Maybe there is an upper limit, which means they can go over, legally allowed to go over 100% if they want to. While Pennsylvania says, no, you can't go over 100%, but it might be over the lifetime of the machine. If you read the state law, and I have reviewed every state 3 times now, one per week. If you review the state law, it might say over the lifetime of the machine. So it's not even per bet. And so there's all these, I won't say loopholes, but there's some things that casinos can do to help themselves, which meet the state law. A lot of states seems like they could do a lot better. Washington, I think the state of Washington is most restrictive because the casinos don't get a say. All the slots are remotely controlled by the Gaming Commission, a tribal lottery gaming system, where that's the decisions are being made there. So, and not by the casino. So that's pretty interesting. That's like the Class 3 slot machines in tribal casinos in New York City. That's a fraction of the slot machines in not New York City, the state of New York, which are also controlled off-site. So this is the details are important. The details are important. So I think that's about as much time I want to put on that. There's articles out there I have and other videos, and so yeah. Let's see, it's right. So Mario has questions, and Paula and Jan are answering it. So yes, Mario has the misunderstanding that slot machines are random, entirely random, and they're not. Online slots are, but as of 2012, slot machine manufacturers came out with central servers, and a lot of people disagree with this, but you can just read their financial reports and you can see what it says, and a lot of people haven't adjusted to that. So I'm fine with you disagreeing, Mario, but new technologies have come out, and this is how you win on slot machines now, if you care to. Right. Right. Mark Smith, what I'm asking is, how does a casino balance their books by switching a chip? They're not. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. You don't need to switch the chip. The theoretical payout stays the same. That's why you would want to change the chip. But because the theoretical payout is not a particular value, but rather a range, you don't need to change the chip. And there's only one state that that kind of like locks things down so much that casinos would be doing something illegal by having this win. And that's the state of Washington. Otherwise, it's not illegal. It fits right in. If you have to have those odds over the lifetime of the game, then you just take the odds low for a month, and then you have the win, and it all matches. So there's plenty of different circumstances. It's a state by state situation, and yeah, they can do that. So right, Mario, the book is about how I learned all this. I also put in how to do it, but it's basically about how I learned all this and why I had to change how I thought about slots. Right, and I love these questions. This is great. What is this machine doing making a sound when no one is playing it? It is trying, slot machine manufacturers are trying to, do player appeal. If a machine was like dim until you went over to play it, they're trying to draw you in. So that it's just chuckling away at itself. And by the way, the random number generator, in case you didn't know, is constantly running. It's not like running every time you make a bet. It's constantly running, and when you make a bet, it chooses the one at that instant, or two. One for the if you win, and the second for how much you win. And that's also used for other functions having to do with the variables that can come out when you play the machine. So random number generator gets a lot of use. Right. All right, so I'm going to. Hey, this is great to get so many people coming in asking questions. Some of them are covered by other videos, and I hope I gave enough of an answer here. Let's get back on topic. So before the 5:30 drawing, I went up to the open area near, but not too near, the promotion organizers preparing for the second round on their laptop computer and getting set up for the next two names for the 5:30 drawing and two drawings. I remember that they glanced up at me with a look like they were wondering what I wanted, and I responded by having body language where I was kind of like being casual and kind of looking around instead of intensely staring at what they were doing. And the big spinning wheel that was set up next to them. What was that? Right. So this is the second round, maybe. And I'm guessing I'll see what happens. So a minute or so later, they called my name. And so naturally, I went ahead and walked up to them. It looked really suspicious. And I was like, what? Could they help me? And despite the apparent absurdity of it all, I said, you just called my name, and they asked for my ID and confirmed my identity, and then moved me over to the second round, that big wheel. The big wheel, 6 feet in diameter, had about 15 locations along the outer edge, separated by these poles about this long, sticking out from the rim. And there was a whisker about 6 inches long itself and flexible. So two openings between pins had these little Mercedes-Benz stickers, car logos. The remaining 13 openings had written dollar amounts in them, ranging from $500 to $1,500. I saw this all at a glance just before they told me to go ahead and spin the wheel. So I said, which way do you want me to spin it? They said it, and either way is fine. So I did, and I should mention here that I professionally, as a working engineer, well, I was laid off a month or so ago. I spin wheels for a living. I mean, it's more complicated than that. They're underwater, but I have, and there are all these different things that go on with it. But it's about the speed that you would hand turn something. So I've, 40 hours a week for my aerospace engineering job for the last 9 years. I spin wheels. So when they said spin the wheel, I was like, don't think about it. Just do it like you know how to turn a wheel, right? And so I turned it the right amount, or I thought what I thought was the right amount. So so I did this, and I just went ahead and pulled it. So there I was, standing next to this very cute announcer with nothing to do but watch the wheel slowly spin down, but it spun about 8 times. I think is about how many times it spun. And I, click, 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 click as the whisker sort of went from one post to the next post, and it's slowly slowing the wheel down. So around it went 5 times. That's right. Each revolution a little slower. And when it was about half a turn left to my eye, I could tell it was going to come close to the opening with one of the 2 car logos. It was still moving somewhat slowly when the whisker dropped into the peg and into the opening with the Mercedes-Benz logo. The whisker hit the next post and started to like ride up on it. And the announcer turned to me and said, "Aw." And I'm like, "Hey, it's not done yet. It's still riding up on that post, slowing down. And with about, about 2 inches left before it would drop into the next, between the next 2 posts where there wasn't a logo, it actually came to a halt. And I'm like, okay, actually, yeah. And they ended up being like a half inch or so. But anyway, details. But once it came to a halt, it was still in that between those 2 posts, and the force on the post made it turn backwards a little bit, and it was securely on the Mercedes-Benz logo. And that announcer I was just talking about just looked at me and said, "You've just won a car," and in a stunned voice. And I looked at her and I'm like, "I know," in a stunned voice. So that's when things get really busy really fast. And that's something that I want you to be prepared for. Okay. I had no idea what happened to the other person. The other person whose name was called, what they won. It was all suddenly just busy. I was moved off to the side very quickly, filled out paperwork, asked questions. I remember seeing my handwriting for signing the paperwork, and I was like, whose handwriting is that? It's all messed up. It's the adrenaline and from, shaking hands from all that. So I also know that 2 of the hosts showed up very quickly that I had been talking to earlier that day, Amanda and Jill. And so they asked me for my preferred payout. And one of the things I was very surprised by that I wasn't ready for was they asked me if I would like to have the $40,000 in free slots play. I mean, they kind of pushed it. You could really do it. No taxes on free slots play. You can totally, take the free slots play. And that casino had a winning strategy 1, only win immediately, which doesn't require much bankroll. You go through all the machines, and I might have $500 bankroll, and then I was done for the day. And $40,000 in free slots play would not work at that casino. I knew how to win at that casino. I had been winning at that casino, and I was like, no. Another casino, another circumstance, maybe you would make a different decision. But I was like, $40,000 in free slots play? I'm not taking it. So what they did, also I asked for free for cash. They said no, which was very surprising. This was a slightly smaller casino than the Horseshoe that I had been going to in Cincinnati. And I was like shocked. And we don't have that much cash or something like that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you do. But they didn't want to run short or something. So they gave me $20,000 in cash and $20,000 cashier's check. So my 5 bands of $100 bills. And I don't, if I win a $10,000 jackpot, I don't get one of those because taxes brings it under $10,000. It was only $10,000 after taxes that I would accept that. They plop it down in your hand. So, I got my pockets full of 2 of those banded $100 bills, and 1 in each pocket. And then off I went. And so, in interest of time, what happened afterwards was security took me to my car and all that. But the next weekend, I was at another event, an exclusive dinner at another casino, the one next door, or not too far away, 10 miles away in downtown Cincinnati. And I was recognized by people, and they were not happy with me because I won it at 5:30, and they were like, "Well, as the time would go by, they'd put more logos on. It was more likely to win. We're not going to go until like 9 o'clock, and try the 9 o'clock drawing or the 9:30 drawing or, maybe the 10 o'clock drawing. We're going to come in late. We're not going to be there that much." And I won it at 5:30, and they're just like, they knew my name. They recognized me. So there's consequences to this. And, some of them were very happy for me, and some of them seemed, they're genuinely happy, but others less so. I wanted to mention that. So, and I got paid a 1099 miscellaneous. I know a lot of contractors just get that, but it's also used for promotional prizes. There was no taxes taken out at the time, but I got the 1099 miscellaneous towards the end of the year, and there's taxes to be paid on that. It's an IRS form, like W-2Gs are an IRS form, so you can pay taxes. But it's also a promotional prize, so it's counted as gambling winnings, and if you get gambling deductions, then you can apply your losses to it. And that can take some of that down. But having gotten the cash, I was able to have enough to cover it. Now, I did go out and buy a Jeep Wrangler to replace my $500 car a little while later, a couple weeks later, but I didn't use all of it, so I had enough to cover the taxes on that. And that's basically what I wanted to tell you about. There's a lot to winning a car. It's great to be prepared, or you could just wing it. But I want you to have the best result, and that's what happened to me. Right. So let's see. Questions. So a slot manager looks at his payout report and sees that his payout is lower than the casino wants. So you're suggesting that somehow, no, this is not that granular. A lot of this is going to be somewhere in the back room. All right. This is not, the slot attendants don't know anything about this. The floor manager doesn't know anything about this. This is software from the slot manufacturer. It's called an operating system. And there's a lot going on. You have to automate this stuff. There's no paper anymore. Right. It's too much going on. It's an automation. It's an algorithm. And they will make these adjustments. The alternative, and if you read my stuff on this, the alternative for the casino is far worse. They need these little fixes because they can get themselves in serious trouble if they, don't do something like this. Anyway, it's just a logical way to process this stuff that doesn't break the law and allows, I look at common casino business practices and I think about, as a player, what might we be able to do as an advantage? And, we could talk about why they do this. But the thing is, I've won, other people have won, and by responding to as though they do that. Why would they do that? I have ideas. I explain them elsewhere. And, it's just basically a winning strategy, maybe even the biggest one. The collecting tastes, is more common. Anyway, I kind of talked about that. And I'm over. I'm 2 minutes over. So I am going to wish you all a great day, a great weekend. And thank you so much for the donations. Feel free to email me with questions. I'm try to put a certain amount of time every day into responding, and then when that time gets to the limit, I stop. Glad you appreciated the show, and thank you for listening on the podcast. I appreciate you guys and the live people in the live stream. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this later, I hope you had a good time. Great. You take care.